We thought that the cars that were following us from my attorney's office were media, because there was a media van that followed us and another van that went with them. So we're thinking, here we go. It happens every day.
I know it does.
So.
I know it does. I'd like to make it stop happening, to be honest with you.
I would too.
We have said today, from the very beginning, if law enforcement would like to speak with myself, he would like to be present, I would like to have my attorney present.
Well, with them announcing that, there was going to be a grand jury, and obviously my name was thrown out, and they knew who the grand jury was for.
Who threw your name out?
All the media said that it was from an inside source.
I'll take this as far as I need to prove my innocence, which I guess is my point in all of this.
When you say you'll take it as far as you need to prove your innocence, what do you mean?
Serving the indictment today and the warrant for my arrest and everything else. I'm not running.
Mr. Bias, we Mirandized her as what at 422. She invoked, quit the finger pointing, okay?
I'm trying to think, does she really do it only to better herself, or does she even just say white lies just to do it? I'm really trying to think now. Because sometimes it seems like she lies just to lie.
To Leonard Padilla, bounty hunter, who will be under oath in this case. Leonard, when you write the perfect killer, the perfect weapons, crystal eyes and a heart of coal, when I saw Tot Mom giving her police interviews, that was a perfect description of her demeanor. Agree or disagree, Leonard?
Absolutely. But here's the thing. We're trying to equate her with being a normal person. And
I'm not.
I know she's not, and if you go back in her thinking, I'm telling you, her thinking is this: it was an accident, and therefore there was no mens rea towards murder, and there's nothing they can prove about it. So she's just along for the ride. To Drew Petrimo with WDBO. Drew, what were some of the slogans and photos that struck you as unusual?
She's cold, she's cruel, and she knows what she's doing. One of them, don't live for anyone but yourself. A killer with perfect weapons that you were talking about earlier. But I have to say, I've been on MySpace a lot before, and people do put these things on their MySpace, and it's pretty normal to have these kind of sick joke kind of, people think it's funny or some way kind of sadistic, but they still put it on their MySpace. I want to go to Dr. Bethany Marshall. You know, Dr. Bethany, I recall around the age, when I was that age, as Tot Mom is, the big thing then was called a nothing book. It was a book with nothing but blank pages, and you filled it with whatever you wanted. And I had verses from Eleanor Roosevelt and Helen Keller, keep your nose in the wind and your eye on the horizon, things like that. I didn't have a cold killer has crystal eyes and a heart of coal. I mean, I don't think that is the norm, regardless of what our reporter from WDBO radio might think.
Yeah, I don't agree with Drew. This reminds me of a series of prison drawings that was rendered by a convicted killer, where he shows himself standing over the victim, a corpse, at some points defecating, urinating, masturbating, and stabbing the corpse. And he drew the pictures because he had fantasies of being famous. So in the mind of the killer, the idea of having power over the victim, dominating the victim, killing the victim, is usually associated with extreme excitement and then notoriety. And while Casey's drawings and slogans, they don't really rise to this pathological level, it shows a fetishized, romanticized interest in death, that there's excitement and sadism associated with it, and the idea of being famous. It is a part of the same complex.
Let's unleash the lawyers. Gloria Allred, victims' rights advocate out of L.A. John Burris, renowned defense attorney in San Francisco. Peter Odom, defense attorney out of Atlanta. To you, John Burris, of course, this does not prove guilt or innocence. It is not probative of the ultimate issue. But, John Burris, if this goes to a death penalty phase, where the issue is sentencing, these slogans, thousands of them, and images of human skulls may very well come into evidence.
Well, I think that's the fight that the defense lawyer is going to have, and I think he's going to make a real strong effort that this does not reflect anything that goes to the question of guilt and or a mental state. It may be she's nutty as a fruitcake.
That's what I just said, Burris. I just said it's not going to come in the case in chief. It would only come in at sentencing.
No, I'm saying it may not come in the case in sentencing. That's my point of view. That's what the defense lawyer's challenge is, to keep this out. Okay. I don't see where it necessarily comes in as reflective of anything other than some musings of some kind. mind. I think a psychological report from the defense point of view is going to put this in some kind of context to show that this is not necessarily the product of a deprived mind. And that's what's going to be the challenge.
To Gloria Allred, I think it certainly goes to motive, intent, course of conduct. What about that, Gloria?
All of the above, Nancy, and it's counterintuitive. In other words, what does a normal person think that a grieving mother or a mother whose child is missing is going to do? Now, Jose Baez has said he's got a compelling reason to explain all this. I can't wait to hear what that is, and it'll be a tough sell to a jury.
And the kicker, Peter Odom, is going to be if any of this was posted after Kelly goes missing.
Well, Nancy, I know that prosecutors love to say that this kind of evidence goes to motive and intent, but really it's prejudicial, it's inadmissible, and it should not come in.
You could say everything the prosecution is going to put in is prejudicial, Peter Odom. You've got to do better than that.
It's overly prejudicial and irrelevant.
Oh, so you're adding the word overly. Okay, I'm sold.
Like the loss of sunlight